So we're now going to go ahead and look at 3.5, and we're going to be using that flow chart that I just gave you to be finding equations of lines. Now the first ones we've already done of this were in 3-4, where we looked at how to find the line equation when I gave you a point and I gave you a slope. Now in that type of question, all we had to do was use the point-slope formula. Now in 3.5, there's two other types. There's find an equation when you're given only 2 points and no slope, or find the equation when you're given a point and another line equation. So the first one that we're going to look at is the second page of that flow chart, right on the back. And we're going to find the equation of a line when you're given 2 points. Now it is exactly the same as what we did in 3.4 with one extra step. Instead of just using the point-slope formula right away, we need to find our slope from the point. And then once you found the slope, then we can use the point that's provided along with the slope that we found and get it use the point-slope formula, and then either get it in slope-intercept or in standard form, depending upon what the directions say. It'll say either one or the other. So we're going to work out a couple of each type of these. And I'm going to give you 2 points. We're going to find the slope, use a point-slope formula, and then we'll either write it in slope-intercept or standard. So the first one I'm going to have you write it in standard form. So we're going to write this one in standard form. And you're going to be given 2 points. So how about 4, -3, and 8, 1. So here's 2 points. We're going to work with these 2 points. And we're going to eventually get our answer in standard form. Now, again, what do we have? All right, we think about what we've got. We do not have a slope. What do we have? We have 2 points. Okay? So if we have 2 points, what's my first step? Calculate the slope. So let's do that. And I always like to write up our formula. So m equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus your x2. So we label our ordered pairs x1, y1, x2, y2. We plug our values in. Now be very careful about double negatives. If we have any, you got to be very careful about those. I don't think this one has any, but later questions might. So that's going to be a -3 minus 1 over 4 minus 8. Now, -3 minus 1, that makes it a -4. And 4 minus 8, that makes it a -4. And -4 over -4, well, that makes it a 1. So that is my slope. So my slope, m, is 1.
Up at the top given is 8, 1. Is it supposed to be a -1 with the problem?
Well, no, watch your signs here. Okay.
See, your second point is 8, 1.
Right.
It's supposed to be minus there.
No. Okay, when it goes in the formula, here's our points. So y1 is a -3. Yep. And then when we plug it into y2, here, the sign, MJ, is a negative. So the negative, yep, comes with it. Yep, no problem. Does that make sense now? Okay, so that is now our slope, and that's our m. Okay, now once we have our m, we found our slope, what do we do next? All right, the next step is we use our point-slope formula, which is what we did earlier. So we've got our slope, and I'll go ahead and write that down, and we've got our point as well. So let's use that for negative 3, and that's x1 and y1. And here's our point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and we fill it in. And again, we have to watch out for double negatives if we have any. And so that's going to be y minus, here's the double negative, a minus 3. Watch your signs there. And that equals 1 times x minus 4. Okay, that 1's out in front, so we'll go ahead and distribute it through. And what do we know about the double negative here with that 3? Well, that's going to make that positive. So cleaning it up a bit, that gives you y plus 3. That 1 doesn't do anything, so that's x minus 4. Now, which way did we want the line equation written? Well, we want it in what? Standard form. And what does standard form look like? It's right here at the bottom of your flow chart. It looks like that. Okay? So when it looks like this, the x and the y need to be where? On the same side. So I'm going to move the x over. And we've done enough of these. I think we might be able to start doing things in 2 steps at once. So we're also going to move that 3 over at the same time. Because when you get to intermediate, a lot of times you'll do multiple things in one step. Instead of rewriting and writing, you can do it at once here. And that leaves me then with a minus x plus y. The 3 got moved over, right? So that's gone. The x is gone. Minus 4 minus 3 makes it a minus what? 7. Now, is this in standard form? Yes or no? Well, remember, what do we know about standard form? No. The x has to be what? Positive. How do we fix that? We put a negative in front and we distribute it through. And that changes all of the signs involved. And so that makes it an x, a minus y, and change the sign of the 7, makes it a positive 7. It wasn't negative before, so that then made that then positive. And there is your answer in standard form. Okay. Let's do another one. Sometimes they may have fractions, sometimes they may not. That one happened to not give us fractions, but let's do another one. And let's write our answer in standard form. Well, let's write this one in slope. Well, let's do another one in standard. We'll write this one in standard form. I think we can do the slope-intercept part. I think the standard form is where we may struggle more. So let's write it in standard form. And let's say you're given 2 points. How about a minus 2, minus 4, and a 6, negative 9. And I don't know what we're going to get out, whether we're going to get a fraction or a whole number out for the slope. We're going to try it and see. So let's go ahead now and find our slope. That's the first thing we do, is we find our slope. So our slope m is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, and x1, y1, x2, y2. We complete our formula here, and that gives you, watch your signs, a minus 4 minus a minus 9. So be careful with the double negative over minus 2 minus 6. Now we know the double negative here, right? Double negative here is going to make that then a positive 9, and minus 4 plus 9 makes it a positive 5. Down below we have a minus 2, minus 6, that makes it a minus 8. And we'll bring that negative up to the top. So now we have a minus 5/8. And are we done yet? No, right? That's why you have the flow chart, because you got to watch the flow chart. You were here. We found our slope, right? What's next? Point slope. So that's the next thing that we do. I like to write my slope down, which is that minus 5/8. And we've got that point, minus 2 minus 4. So now we're going to use the point slope formula. And what was our point slope formula? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus your x1. And label your ordered pair if you need to see it. x1, y1. And watch again out for double negatives. So that's y minus a minus 4 equals minus 5/8, that's my slope, times x minus a minus 2. And what do we know about the double negative here? The double negative is going to make that now a what? Positive. Okay, and we'll go ahead and distribute that through. Now, we are in standard form, so can we have fractions in standard form? No. So we are going to have to clear out the fractions in a moment. First thing we do, though, is watch out for those double negatives and distribute through, and then we'll clear them out. So go ahead now and distribute that through. And when I distribute that through, double negative here makes it a positive. So that's y plus 4 there. Move it up so we can see. Equals, when I distribute through, it's a minus 5/8 x. Negative and positive, because that's positive there, makes it a positive. 5 times 2 is a 10 over 8. And don't worry about reducing it down, because we're going to clear it out in a moment. So don't even reduce, because it's just going to make more work. Now, we cannot have fractions, so we need to get rid of them. So we're going to multiply everything by that 8. So multiply everything by that 8, and that gives you 8y plus 4 times 8 is a 32. The 8's cancel, leaving you with a minus 5x. The 8's cancel, that leaves you with a 10. Is everyone all right with that so far? Now, what do we need to do? We need to get the x's on the left with the y, and the numbers need to go to the right. So 5x can move over with a positive. And the 32, take it away, and move that to the right. What are we now left with? In standard form, the x always goes first. So the 5x is first. Then we've got an 8y, and that is then going to equal 10 minus 32. So 10 minus 32, that makes it a minus 22. Is everyone okay with that?
So when you distribute it,
Let's make sure to make a mistake.
-5/8
Okay.
into the x and a positive 2 there, would
Right.
that make it a negative 10/8?
Oh, did I make a mistake with the sign? That's why it didn't work. Sorry about that. That should be a negative. My mistake. Yep, thank you for catching that. I just wasn't careful because we have a negative and a positive that makes that negative. Thank you. Yep, I didn't even see that because I was checking it mentally and I was like, that doesn't quite work. So then that's going to make that now, instead of a negative 22, that's going to make that a negative 42, isn't it? Sorry about that. I just wasn't careful. It's so easy to make a small sign error here, and I just didn't even notice it. Thank you very much for pointing that out. So that was when we had 2 points. Now, the next ones that we're going to look at, and the last ones, are when we have a point and a line equation. And they have their own flow chart. And the last page has that flow chart for when we want to find the equation of a line when we are given a point and a line equation. So what we need to do is we always need to get our slope somehow. It might be given. You might have to calculate it using our slope formula. If they give you a line equation, though, you can find the slope by getting it in slope-intercept form. And then the number in front of the x is going to be the slope that you're going to be using. Now, once you've gotten the slope, then you have to read the question and see if it says it's parallel or if it's perpendicular. If it's parallel, well, parallel lines, remember, from before Thanksgiving break, parallel lines had the same slope. So we'll keep the number the same. If it's perpendicular, and we talked about those too, you have a negative reciprocal. So you flip it over and change the sign. Either way, you always go back to point slope, and then you either express your answer in standard form or in slope-intercept form. Okay, so it's just a recipe. Again, it's got a decision that you have to make, and then you follow it down. So we'll do 2, maybe 3 of these. And then I do have all of your homework to pass back as well. And I've got the practice final that I'll give you today. We're going to work on it more next class period also, but that's back in my mailbox. But I'll get that here in a moment. But let's try to get through 2, maybe 3 more questions. And again, we're still in 3-5. And I'm going to have you find the equation in, and let's do this one in slope-intercept. And let's say you're given this point. How about I give you a -4, 3, and I want it to be, how about let's do a perpendicular one. I want to be perpendicular to 3x minus 5y equals 10. So when I read this, key things I want to see is it's perpendicular, right? That's an important fact. And we also want our answer in slope-intercept. Now, what are we given? We are given a point and we are given a line equation. So our flow chart, what does it specifically tell us to do? If you've got a point and a line equation, last page of that flow chart, what does it say to do first? Solve the equation for y. And then that's going to give us our slope. So we take our equation and we solve that equation for y. So we've got 3x minus 5y equals 10. I'm going to move that 3x over. And now we've got a minus 5y equals a minus 3x plus 10. And I'll slow down a bit here. So we're taking that equation and we're solving it for y, right? Now, we need to solve it for y, so we divide everything by what? -5. And watch how that changes your signs here. And reduce it down if you can. Negative and negative, well, that'll make that a positive 3/5 x there. Positive and negative makes it a -2. I don't care about the -2 because all I'm looking for is the number in front of the x. And what's the number in front of the x? 3/5. So that's my m. So we now have m equals 3/5. Is that the slope we're going to be using? Okay, let's check it out and see. Now, I want it to be very important here, perpendicular. Okay, so if I look at my flow chart and I go this way, before I get to the point slope formula, it says for perpendicular, you've got to use the negative reciprocal slope. So this is the parallel slope. Okay, we don't want the parallel slope, we want the perpendicular slope. Okay, we want the perpendicular. How do we do that? We flip the fraction over, so that makes it 5/3, and then we do what? change our sign. So this is what we're going to be using right here. That's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using that minus 5/3. We flipped it over, and we changed the sign. So negative becomes a positive. Now we can proceed. We're here. And now we can proceed and go to where? Point slope. So now we're going to use point slope. And we've got our m now. The m we're going to be using is that minus 3/5. So that one goes there because that's what we want. And what's my point that we had at the very beginning? If we go back up to the very beginning, what's my point? Minus 4/3. So that's going to be right here for my point, minus 4/3. And that's x1 and y1. Now we use our point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus your x1, right? Is everyone okay with that so far? All we have to do is plug in our values. Again, be very, very careful of double negatives, and there is one. So what we have first is we have y minus 3 equals, we've got a minus 5/3 times x. Now watch out for the double negative, minus a minus 4. And that double negative makes it a positive. And we need to distribute that 5/3 through. So now we've got y minus 3 equals a minus 5/3 x. Negative and positive makes it a negative. And 5 times 4 makes it a 20/3. Now, we can have fractions in slope-intercept form, right? But we still need to take care of that 3. We need to move that 3 over. And I really don't like to work with fractions when I add that 3 to it. So let's just get rid of the fractions. It's going to be the easiest way to do it. Multiply everything by a 3. And that'll clear out all of those fractions. And so let's go ahead and do that. And that's 3y minus 9 equals a minus 5x and a minus 20. We've got one more step to do. Well, actually 2. We need to move the 9 over. So that's going over. And now we've got 3y equals a minus 5x. And it looks like minus 11. Now, what form do we want our answer in? If we go back up the very top, it says we want it in slope-intercept form. And so slope-intercept form looks like this. So it must look like this. Y equals mx plus b. So what do? We just divide by our 3. And now we've got it. So what's my final answer? Y equals now minus 5/3 x minus 11/3. And that is your answer now in slope-intercept form. So that's in slope-intercept form. One more, and I think that'll probably be it for today. Now, I do have some homework to pass back to, some graded homework and all the graded exams. And I'll give you the practice final to start looking at. You don't have to start looking at it yet, but in case you want to, you can go ahead and start working through it. Okay, so make sure I'm on the right track here. Okay, let's look at one more of these, and this one's going to be parallel, and we'll put this one in standard form. The last one is slope-intercept, so we'll do this one in standard form. And the last one was perpendicular, so we'll do this one in standard form with parallel. So let's find the equation in standard form. And let's say you're given the point, how about 7, -3? and I want it to be parallel to 4x plus y equals 7. So, key takeaways here, standard form, that's very important, and this one has to be parallel. When we look at parallel, do we change the slope at all? No, whatever we find is what we use. For the perpendicular one, we flip it over, and we change the sign. In this case, though, we're not going to have to change anything. So what do? Let's follow our flow chart again, and you can use this flow chart on the final if you need to. Find the equation of a line, given a point and a line equation. We take that line equation and we solve it for y. So 4x, and this one's actually quite a bit easier, plus y equals 7. Simple enough. Move your 4x over. So y equals now a minus 4x plus 7. There it is. We are not done yet. A lot of times I see students trying to stop here. We are not done. We haven't even used this point yet. All right, but I do see a lot of times students stop here. We are not done. This is only part of it. So what is my slope? My m is a minus 4, isn't it? So that's the slope I'm going to be using. And this is the parallel slope. That's what I want. It says parallel, so I don't have to change it. I keep it exactly the same as it is. So now we can move on, and now we can use the point slope formula. And we've got an m, which is a negative 4, and we have that point 7, negative 3. X1 and Y1 are there. And let's write up our formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus your x1, filling it in. We get y minus a minus 3 equals minus 4 times x minus 7. Okay, we'll distribute this, and watch out with this negative here. We're going to distribute this negative 4 through, and the double negative here with the 3 makes that then a positive, so watch your signs. So we have y plus 3 on the left. We're going to distribute that minus 4 through. So that's minus 4x. Negative and negative makes it a positive. And 4 times 7, well, that's a 28. What form do we want it in? Standard. Okay. And what does standard form need to look like? X and y on the same side. So it must look like this. That's what we want. So to get it in that form, we're going to have to add the 4x over. And the 3 goes with the 28. That now leaves me with my answer, which is 4x plus y equals 28 minus 3 makes it a 25. So what's our homework? Well, your homework is going to be 3.4. You should be able to finish it out. And 3.5, you should be able to work it all out too. If you have questions at 3.5, we'll have plenty of time next week to go over those. Because again, what we're doing next week is we are going to be going over the final. And we are going to be working some questions out of 3.5 if we need to. So let's talk about